What was your toughest leadership challenge and how did you overcome it? How important is emotional intelligence to you? And why are you so passionate about leadership? These are some of the questions I received from fans and viewers recently that we're going to get into on this episode so that you can understand how to overcome some of these tougher challenges as a leader, why emotional intelligence may or may not be the most important thing or one of the more important things to consider when building yourself up as a leader, and then why am I so passionate about leadership? Why do I believe leadership is the solution and the answer to all of our problems? Tune into this episode coming right now. You're going to find all this up right now. But first, hit that like, hit that subscribe on YouTube so that you get your notifications on every time a new episode drops. Leave comments and feedback underneath this video here. And if you comment the word leadership, we're going to give you a shout out in a future episode. Now, let's get right into it. I love you guys. Stay strong. All right, this is Libretti Leadership Lab number 7 with me, John Libretti. For those of you who don't know me, John Libretti, founder of SPEARHEAD Leadership. We are the bar rescue for your businesses and teams. If you're a manager, if you're a leader, if you're a business owner, we jump in there in the trenches of your business with you, help you get clear on your problems and on your goals, and help you develop the leadership skills necessary to attain those goals, solve those problems more effectively, and see much more long-term success. If you guys are interested at all in learning more about what we do and how we do it, feel free to find us on the website, www.spearheadleadership.co. You can check us out on LinkedIn at Spearhead Leadership. You can check us out on Instagram at _Spearhead Leadership. And of course, we got the Libretti Leadership Lab here on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. So thank you guys for being here this week. Last week, we got into handling stress, dealing with struggle, and the importance of how to handle that as a leader and how you're going to deal with struggle and stress and strife in many different forms on a regular basis. And there are ways as a leader to handle that and lead through that in a way that makes these stressors and struggles really not such a big deal. And that becomes a real game changer for your business and the team that you're leading and in your daily life too. If again, you can take these principles, incorporate them into your daily habits as an individual, and they're going to play there as well. But go check that episode out if you haven't already. There's some really good tips and tricks in there for you to start moving the needle of progress towards being able to handle stress and struggle and expanding your comfort zone a little better. We'll put the link up here on YouTube if you want to click on that in the top left or top right. I'm getting my directions mixed up when I'm looking on camera here. So this week we got a couple of questions from some fans. I don't want to call them fans, but interested parties, people who watch, who pay attention to the show, who follow along on our social media, who have worked with us in the past, members of the community, the leadership community, I guess you can say. We got some questions from them. I put out a feeler on Instagram for leadership topics or questions or situations that you might find yourself in that you're looking for information or possibly some help on navigating through. So we got a couple questions, not many to go over today, but we'll go through that. And a quick reminder, this is the stuff I love to do the most. This is the stuff we at Spearhead love to do the most. This is really the point of this YouTube show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. It's to help you guys out in any way that we can that's going to be of value to you in the leadership space. So by you bringing us your questions and your feedback, that's how we're going to be able to best help you. If you have a question about something, particular situation you're dealing with maybe, or even if you have feedback saying, hey, I don't feel that you communicated out this particular topic effectively enough or as well enough for me to understand it, can you find a better way? Can you rehash that particular topic or question? Whatever the feedback is, that's what we're here for. So if you have questions in the future, please send them in. You can put them in the comments. You can DM us on Instagram or even LinkedIn. You can reach out to us through our website, and we'll answer the mail on whatever you got. That's what we're here for. So, a couple questions here. I'm going to run through on the list that I typed out to make sure I didn't forget them. But thank you for the people who submitted these questions, and we're just going to roll right into it. The perfect situation, by the way, is when we don't have guests on the show talking about leadership from their perspective, or having people on who are willing to get some free coaching on camera, and we record the little mini coaching session. The solo episodes, the ideal goal is to just discuss and talk through topics and questions that you, the viewers, have that you submitted. So we're gonna find better ways to get you guys, easier routes to submit your questions and comments and concerns. So we'll make that happen. But again, I can't say it enough. Thank you for those who submitted. We want more of this stuff. Anyway, jumping right into it. First question here. What was your toughest leadership challenge and how did you overcome it? Now, this was a great question. I appreciate you asking this. This is a great question for me to sit and think about for a while. To think about my experience as a leader myself, my experience with helping train and develop and coach others on the leadership side, to kind of think about what their experiences were. I don't have a huge life-changing challenge that was an aha moment in my career or my life or the world of leadership, which is what most people are going to go through in their lives. Realistically speaking, we are not going to be dealing with dire life or death leadership problems or hurdles. So I feel like most people are going to be in the same sort of position, or at least similar position as I am. Any sort of dire, life-changing style decision or hardship, we navigate as a team. We already had a plan and an answer for, so it wasn't really necessarily a challenge. We already knew that stuff was coming. That is one of the aspects of being in the military, is we're pre-planning for the life or death situations. So when it came to the leadership side of the house, more so outside of combat, the biggest challenges and hurdles that I've had to overcome, and I imagine a lot of others have to overcome on a regular basis as well. It's probably a common tough challenge, if you want to call it, that being the toughest challenge. I feel like a lot of people would feel this way too. It's any issue that is created and exacerbated by the human factor, human emotions or feelings. For instance, having to give negative feedback to an employee or a team member, especially one who's really a value add to the team. You have a good relationship with them, but there's feedback that has to be given in the negative. Maybe they missed a mark somewhere, maybe something bad happened on their watch, whatever it may be. That's always a tough thing because the feelings come into play, the emotions come into play, where you have a good bond and relationship with that individual, human to human, not just boss to subordinate, or leader to airman in the military side, but as equals, as human beings, man to man, woman to woman, whatever. And that person's good. You have mutual respect for each other. They don't really screw up a lot of the time. But this was, you have a big situation, that you have an important situation that was failed, or whatever it was, that you have to kind of drop the hammer on this one. Those are always tough, again, because of the emotional attachment that you gain just from being a part of a team for so long and going through some of the things you do. That's going to happen. Now, how to navigate that? The best way I found for myself to navigate it is through basically the same way I go about everything in my life. Direct and transparent as possible. And when I say transparent as possible, I I over communicate a lot of times with people when it comes to stuff like this. I don't consider there's to be such a thing as over communication in most aspects of day-to-day life. I feel in my mind again, the more information that I have to work with, the more effective I'm going to be in coming up with a decision, solution, way forward, what have you. So in situations like that where I had to deliver bad feedback or have a tough conversation with a team member who I had no issues with otherwise, it would be as transparent as possible and upfront and direct. Listen, I this is going to be a tough conversation to have. And it has nothing to do with how I feel about you as a human being and our relationship in that regard. This has to do with this particular task at hand, this particular situation at hand, this particular mission at hand, whatever the actual thing is. I communicate that up front. This conversation is going to be tough, and it has to do with this one situation and not how I feel about you as a person, as a team member, as a whatever position they hold in the team, whatever it is. Now, that does not mean the emotions are still not going to be there. Okay, you're still going to hurt somebody's feelings when you have to have tough conversations like that. But if you start the conversation off in a state of respect and transparency right off the bat without trying to sugarcoat or talk around things, the conversation is much more fluent and much smoother, and it goes by a little bit, goes down a little easier. Okay? There's always going to be feelings. People don't like to hear when they screwed up. No matter what, again, no matter what the relationship is, look at the best of the best. They'll tell you the same thing. I don't like screwing up. I feel bad for whatever reason. Most of the time, it's going to be I feel bad because I feel like I let you down, I let the team down, whatever. They're going to feel bad. But I found that being direct and upfront and transparent right off the bat significantly mitigates the chances for that conversation becoming much more difficult to deal with and much more hostile. When I was younger, high school, college, the age window where you think you know it all already and you don't even know a fraction what you think you know, I would have been either talking around. If I liked the person, I had to give them that negative feedback. I would have been talking around, beating around the bush, trying to sugarcoat things, maybe even avoiding the conversation altogether. And if I didn't have a good relationship with the person, there was finger pointing, there was hostility, there was, placing blame, nobody taking responsibility, and things would just get worse. So I would always deal with those situations by being upfront, direct, and transparent immediately, and then going from there. I think the other tougher leadership situations I found myself in have again all been attached to the human effects and human emotions behind a situation. I've had conflicts between employees, between team members that we've had to deal with that kind of got ugly because one individual felt emotionally distraught and victimized by another individual, and they did not want to detach from those emotions, either party. So the way you kind of navigate that is, again, communicate, be upfront and transparent, have additional, what's the word I'm thinking of? Have additional parties involved in the conversation when trying to get to the bottom, when trying to gather information to get to the bottom of this conflict to create a solution for it. So you want to make sure a good rule of thumb is if there is a fight, if there is a conflict between two employees, you should not, as the leader, supervisor, boss, whatever, you should not be the only one involved in the solution. Okay. You should obviously have the two other individuals involved in the solution. So getting their story, sitting in a room together if you can, if you're in a position to where these people are willing to talk to each other, come to the table, have them in the room together. Otherwise, you bring in, maybe you have an assistant manager or you have an executive officer if you're in the military, whatever kind of second in command you may have on your team, bring them in to get involved to try to keep things objective and to communicate out to each individual. I don't want to come from any point of bias as much as possible, so I am bringing in this person to help with the solution. Okay, and that definitely helps mitigate the situation. It allows it allows you to better detach from the emotions going on both sides. Because at the end of the day, most of the time you have connections with individuals, both individuals that are in conflict. You like them both for the most part, most of the time. So you don't want to disappoint somebody by saying, actually, you were the one at fault and this guy was right, and that gets them mad and this and that, and they try to accuse you of playing favorites. And so to mitigate stuff like that, bring in that additional person, and it'll sort of drop the emotional volume down to a point where you can at least detach from the emotions of it all and focus on the information at hand, the situation at hand, and the best way forward for the team. And that's a big thing there too, is again, a lot of times when feelings and emotions are involved, especially with people on your team that you like and respect and have good relationships with, which is one of the things that we help you do at Spearhead, is vastly improve your relationships with people on your team so that your team is more successful. So if you have these good relationships, it is absolutely going to be harder to have to solve a conflict like that, because most of the time somebody's going to feel like they got the short end of the stick. But if you're able to drop the emotional volume down so that you can detach from those emotions and think about it as, as logically based and informational as possible, you want to make sure that you're coming up with a solution, a way forward that's the best for the team. Even if somebody may feel like they're getting the short end of the stick, you have to be able to gather the information, analyze the situation, and make that decision as a leader. And that's tough. That's why that's one of the toughest challenges as a leader I've had to overcome. And it's not just a one-time thing. I've had to do that a lot in the past 14 plus 15 years. A lot of times. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about humans here. People with emotions and issues and all these things going on in their own individual lives that other people don't know about, and that stuff clashes sometimes. Even if they're friends, even if they're good teammates, otherwise, the stuff happens, and it's always tough to navigate through because of that. So you have to do your best to mitigate those emotions so that everybody is thinking clearly of a solution and a way forward. And that's not, it's simple. On paper, it's simple. Detach from emotions, come up with a logical game plan that's best for the team, execute the plan. Very simple steps, 2-3 steps. But it's difficult in the sense that it's actually hard to do successfully and effectively because of the heavy emotions and human factor involved in it. So thank you for that question. I hope that answered it a little bit. And I can talk more in depth about, step-by-step approaches to dealing with conflict, depending on the conflict. This is why I really appreciate these questions, because eventually we're going to get people that ask specific, hey, I had a conflict. I had a situation where an employee misread my email and then told my boss that I was doing this and this and I wasn't really doing this and it created this situation. How do I, how do I solve this so it doesn't happen again? Or how do I tell my boss that this, whatever that particular specific situation is, we can get more in depth with that here on the show, and especially one on one if we're working together. So that's why I appreciate these questions. So thank you for that. All right, excuse me. Moving on. Next question here is, what to you, to me, what is the importance of emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence. Another good question. Thank you for that. I I believe that there are too many individual interpretations of the definition of emotional intelligence to 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 legitimately tell you how important I think about it. I think of it. What I base my uh, value of importance on is what I call situational and self-awareness. The military situational awareness SA. Got to have good SA, good situational awareness. Always watching your six. You've heard these phrases before in the past. That's my definition of emotional intelligence. So that's the term I use: self-awareness and situational awareness. How how aware of you are you of the things going on around you and how they're going to affect your decisions day to day, or even in that particular situation? And how aware are you of your own strengths and weaknesses and blind spots, if you will, to be able to also, again, navigate through situations day to day, or navigate, relationships with different people based on your situational awareness and your self-awareness. To me, that's what I consider to be emotional intelligence. And to me, as a leader, I hold that of at some of the highest importance. Not necessarily the highest. I believe values and integrity are higher, but having situational awareness and self-awareness, or what other people consider to be emotional intelligence, that is high on my list of things I look at in a good leader, but also in a team member. If I'm hiring for for my department in my company, or if I'm looking for military individuals to be put part of my team, like this is the team I want to go do my missions with or whatever, that's high up there. Situational awareness and self-awareness are higher up there. Emotional intelligence is up there because most of the time, a lot of the times, you're going to be dealing with people that don't necessarily have the hard skills for a particular job. But if they have that emotional intelligence, that situational self awareness, they're going to be able to learn those hard skills. You can teach the hard skills a lot easier than the soft skills. So that's what I look for in team members. That's what I look for in helping build leaders, is to help improve their situational and self-awareness. Because if you're not self-aware, then your ego is going to take over. You're not going to be able to take ownership of anything as a leader. And fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to see it, as a leader of a team or a business owner, you have to take ownership of everything. Everything. The buck stops with you in every aspect. You have to take ownership and accountability of everything. And if you don't have self-awareness, that's a tough sell. That's going to be tough to do. You're not going to really understand why you had to take ownership of everything, and your team's going to notice it as well. So, self-awareness, situational awareness to me are very important. Emotional intelligence is very important, not only for leaders, but for also the members of the team. Because you can teach the hard skills. You can teach somebody eventually how to do computer coding or web development or software engineering. There are courses and training for that, to do that. But if you don't have the SSA, the situation and self-awareness, you're not going to be able to adapt to different changes and situations and obstacles that happen when just being part of a team or an organization or a company. So, um, long story longer, emotional intelligence to me is vastly more important than technical abilities. And I speak to that from experience on both sides of the coin in that regard. As a leadership in a leadership position, having to identify people that I want on my team and recruiting, and on the other side, where I was being recruited for a position or part of a team. There have been several teams, sports and military and otherwise, where if you looked at my hard skills, my technical skills in that particular job I was applying for, or team I was trying out for, or a unit I was screening for, I did not possess the technical skills whatsoever for those particular jobs, those specific jobs. A lot of them were on the technical side, the cyber security side, the information and tech side, IT network admin types, that world, the ones and zeros of the matrix. I don't have the technical capabilities to perform well at that role. I certainly didn't when I applied for these positions. But I had enough SSA, situational self-awareness, to pick up those skills and still excel on those teams and still even make those teams to begin with. Okay. Not a lot of people know this, but in high school and in college, I got cut from my baseball teams, my sports teams, the first time I tried out for them. And by the time I was a senior in both of those, both high school and college, I was the captain of those teams. And again, I still wasn't a starter. I wasn't playing every day. I was a walk-on in college. I got cut 3 years in a row. And then I finally made it my last 3 years. And I ended up being captain of both those teams. Now, I know this is your college, you're a kid. It doesn't, emotional intelligence, SSA, and leadership is leadership is leadership. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what experience level you have. If you have the abilities to be a good leader, you got them. So I hold that very high. Again, long story short, I hold emotional intelligence very high in the capabilities of an individual to excel on the team in some way, shape, or form. It's potential. It creates a vast amount of potential to be great at something. So, thank you for that question. I'm curious if that person has any feedback on how important they hold emotional intelligence. So, if you're watching this now and you have your own thoughts, I'd love to hear about them. You can put them in the comments. You can DM. I know you DM'd me this question, so if you want to reach out and do that, that'd be great. So thank you for the question. Last question we'll get into for today. Why are you so passionate about leadership? Another good question. Thinking about this one, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily passionate about leadership specifically in the way that people think. I am passionate personally. I am passionate about helping people excel and succeed. And leadership is the best way to do that. Improving your leadership skills is the best way for you to win and succeed and excel in life. Because as a whole, leadership solves every problem you might have. And this is something I've discussed in the past, and I'll say it time and time again, anytime I think about it. If you think about any problem you might be having in your life, in your business, in your job, whatever it is, think about the issue. The conflict between individuals that I said, I sent this email, they got the wrong tone. That's a breakdown of communication. That's a leadership solution is there for that problem to get to the bottom of it. Giving direct negative feedback. There's a leadership solution to having to do that. We just talked about it. Every problem that you have in life There's a leadership solution. And if there is an issue that goes on, because I've heard this people, from naysayers, if you will, that have come back and said, well, what if something happens that I don't control, like somebody, dies of cancer or something drastic like that? The solution is your response to that. How are you going to respond to that uncontrollable situation? And that's where leadership comes in. That's where the leadership principles will come in, depending on the situation and what skills that you need to navigate through it. But leadership skills and principles will absolutely come in to help you navigate and lead through your response to those uncontrollable situations. So I am passionate about helping people get better, helping them improve their situational self-awareness so that they can take ownership and accountability in their own lives, helping them improve their discipline and consistency in accomplishing things, helping them improve their ability to build strong relationships with people, helping them improve their communication skills, helping them improve building their team, recruiting and building a team, and helping that team excel. I am passionate about seeing people win, seeing good people win. I love it. Selfishly speaking, it makes me feel good when I see that I was even a small part in somebody's success and win in life. And the vehicle for me to be able to have that large amount of impact, that much impact on as many people as possible, is by developing them as a leader. And that, again, is a common sort of misconception that I like to always kind of stomp out as often as possible, is leadership is not a position. Leadership is not a duty title. Leadership is a skill of principles and habits and traits that you can build, learn, grow, and improve upon in your life that will have a positive impact on your job, the business you own, the team you lead, if you do lead a team, your personal relationships, your family life, everything. Leadership is the skill that is going to allow you to excel in all those aspects of life. And that's what I am passionate about, bringing that skill to the table so that people can win and succeed. There's nothing better when a good person that I have in my life, that I'm involved with in my life in some way, shape, or form, has a big win, or they overcome a really big challenge successfully and they make it to the other side and they succeed. Or even if they fail at something and they learn the lesson and they grow from that. These are all little wins or big wins that I love being a part of, helping people to get to. Leadership is the way to get to them, to almost all of them. So why am I passionate about leadership? It's because it's the vehicle to allow the most people to win and succeed in this life the right way. And if I can help even a little bit, 1% of as many people as possible, I'll take that, because it's still progress in the right direction. So thank you for the questions. For those of you who submitted these questions when I put out the feeler a while back, I'll do that again. Follow us on Instagram. The handle is @_Spearhead Leadership. Follow us on Instagram. That's where I put out a lot of the solicitations for questions or topic ideas or problems you might be having in the story there, in the Instagram story. And then I'll find an effective way to put it out on LinkedIn if that's where you follow us on LinkedIn. I don't know if there's a good way to do that there yet, but follow us on Instagram for sure @_Spearhead Leadership. I'll put out those feelers again for people to ask questions. It's anonymous too. It's not like I have to know who you are or anything like that. Obviously, I didn't name names on the show for people who ask unless they want to be identified. So feel free to do that. And also put your stuff in the comments too here on YouTube. Even on Spotify, they have a comment section if if you feel so inclined. But before we go, I always like to do this, the big three, talk about the big three. There's a part of my values, personal values, and Spearhead Leadership's core values. The big three are the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being, and a better leader overall in life. Number one, exercise every day. Do at least one thing each day to improve your fitness and health physically, mentally, or emotionally. Either one. Whether it's a full exercise in the gym or a physical activity, or you're breaking that mental sweat, taking up a new hobby, learning a language, reading a book, doing a crossword, or working on the soul, the emotional side of the house with some meditation, some breath work, praying, what have you. Number two, the hardest one to do is don't be a negative, crappy person, be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to let your negative emotions get the best of you and be negative towards somebody and crappy towards them, even if you believe they deserve it and they deserve that karma, take a deep breath, take that centering breath, 6 in, hold 2, 7 out, detach from those negative emotions and just remove yourself from the situation. Don't say a word, don't respond, don't engage at all. That way, you're minimizing the negativity and the crappiness going on in the world. And you're allowing yourself, now you have the space, the capacity, physically, mentally, emotionally, to go focus on more positive, productive things with your lives, like exercising, perhaps. Number three, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. It is the easiest thing in the world. The easiest thing in the world if you're living in America, if you have a job, a comfortable way of life, it's the easiest thing in the world to take everything for granted. Your power goes out. Your air conditioning goes out. It's raining outside. You don't have an umbrella. There's traffic. Somebody's trying to pull in your traffic and cut you off. It's the easiest thing in the world to take all this stuff for granted. But if you take the time to think about at least one thing each day in your life that's good and what your life would be like without that thing, that'll put you in a state of gratitude as opposed to taking things for granted. And it's going to change your whole outlook on the rest of the day. You're going to immediately feel it. Think about it. You're stuck in traffic. People are trying to cut you off. You're getting all pissed off at these bozos. What if you didn't have a car? What if you had to walk home? What if you got into an accident? Think about that. Think of if I didn't have a car, this nice car with climate control and music or podcasts or whatever it is I want to listen to. And I have my phone. I'm in traffic. I can check my phone and stuff too. Now you'll feel a lot less inclined to go start honking and yelling at that person trying to get in front of you. Okay? And if you do these three things every day, a little bit each and every day, at least once a day, focus on each of these three things, and you do this day in and day out, one day at a time. Repetition, repetition, repetition. A little bit each day, every day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. I promise you all, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human beings and better leaders overall in life. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this page and check us out on Spotify, Apple, LinkedIn at Spearhead Leadership, Instagram at _Spearhead Leadership. Put your comments in the bottom of this video if you liked us or didn't like us, what we can do better, what you really appreciated. If you have questions, topic ideas, put them in the comments. If you comment the word leadership, we'll give you a shout out on a future episode. So do that right now. Thank you guys again. Libretti.